Hi, Gary Paul Hermus here. I've just recently finished a novel called The Port Edgerton Chronicles, and I'd like to share a reading with you. Um, I need to give you a little background, of course. It's a small central New York town located in the southern Finger Lakes region. Port Edgerton sits next to a lake called Lake Polypeseg, the smallest of the Finger Lakes, so small it basically doesn't show up on any maps. And at the time of this particular part of the story, it's that period of early spring where winter really isn't over yet. People are maybe beginning to feel spring fever in their bones, but the temperature says maybe not. Now, in the fall prior to this story, without going into details, Port Edgerton found itself at odds with the town of Punxsutawney, Pennsylvania. And as it worked out, Punxsutawney lost. Port Edgerton won. We'll leave it at that. This particular reading, we meet Gert and Ava Hammelmeyer. They're the owners of Hammelmeyers Hardware. And, well, I'll let the reading explain more about them. Whenever Gert and Ava Hammelmeyer argued, the whole town knew about it. Never known to be shy about their disagreements, or discreet for that matter. Ava's voice became shrill and whiny when she raised it, thing a legend at the town council meetings, with her being a councilwoman. And though Gert was generally good-natured, when he got wound up, his voice boomed across the landscape, and his arms flailed the air like a goony bird trying to land. Hans and Jan Brimmer leaned on the handles of a trolley filled with bags of peat moss that they had just wheeled outside the storefront of Hammelmeyers Hardware, watching the spectacle. They knew a war of attrition when they saw one. "Ava, spring starts next week. It's time," cried Gert, red-faced. "The garden club has been asking for weeks now. When are you going to bring out the gardening supplies?" Well, Ava planted her hands on her hips and leaned in towards him. "I don't care what the calendar says. Winter's not over." She began to gesticulate towards the store's front door. "Didn't you hear the radio? They're calling for snow. We need to put out the shovels, the ice choppers, and the ice melt. It's Punxsutawney's revenge, I'm telling you." "Himmel, woman, if you had your way, the snow shovels would still be out here in June." "Don't be ridiculous. You're just being stubborn." Well, that poured gasoline on the fire. "I'm being stubborn? I'm being stubborn? You invented stubborn. Look for stubborn in the dictionary. There's your picture." Jan shot Hans a baleful expression. They both knew this could go on all day if somebody didn't intervene. Hans, being the older of the two, knew the task fell to him, a role he'd played countless times before. He cleared his throat, but the Hammelmeyers ignored him. "Who was it who insisted on cutting down the order for Halloween lights when I told you they were going to be a big seller?" said Ava, now waving a finger. "They cleaned us out in a day. We could have easily sold 10 times as much. But would you listen to me? No!" Hans cleared his throat again. "Oh, the great trend spotter. How many BB babies did you buy? Insisting that they were a great investment? They're all over the house. I'm sick to death of them staring at me with those little beady eyes every morning when I shave." "You never liked anything I liked," Ava bitterly complained. Gert threw his arms up in exasperation. "Are you going to start that again?" Hans cleared his throat louder this time. The Hammelmeyers turned toward him. What? They shouted in unison. Hans let a beat pass as the echoes of their last words died away. Then coolly and calmly he began. You know, there's really not a lot of winter stock left. We could put the rest of the salt on this trolley, indicating a half-filled ice melt trolley to the right of the entrance, along with what's already there. We can bring out the rest of the choppers and shovels and put them in the rolling rack over there, he continued, pointing to snow shovels in a half-filled rack left of the entrance. And move the peat moss right next to the salt for now. We can put the few snow blowers we have left in the back where people can still see them if they want one. Move last year's leftover gardening stock out to the seasonal shelves. Garden Club is really mostly interested in seeds and starter materials right now anyway, not the rest of it. We can even start building the spring displays out back so they'll be ready to move out as the winter stock is depleted. By then, the new spring stock should start arriving. The Hammelmeyers stared at him, catching their breath. Of course, it's just a suggestion, Hans added. The Hammelmeyers turned to each other for a moment and shrugged. We can do that, Gert sheepishly allowed. Good work, Hans, Ava added as they turned to go back into the shop. As she entered, Ava couldn't resist throwing one more barb over her shoulder. Now, why couldn't you think of that? Why does it always have to be me? Gert rejoined as they disappeared inside. Hans and Jan looked at each other, shaking their heads, and with a sigh began moving the peat moss trolley into place. So much for that chapter. This has been a reading from the Port Edgerton Chronicles. I hope you enjoyed it. If you do, just send me an email. If you're watching this on Facebook, you can comment and let me know what you think. Always interested in hearing from you. Or you could write me at Gary Paul at GaryPaulHermus.com and let me know what you think. Bye-bye for now.